Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Wedmore Parish Council meeting on the 21st of April 2021. Agenda item number 1, to receive any apologies for absence.
Apologies, Chairman, from Glenys Cousins and Joe Keane.
Lovely, thank you very much. Reports from county and district councillors. Over to you, David.
I'm just unmuting myself. Here I am. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all again. This is, I guess, our last virtual meeting. We'll all be back in the old telephone box shortly. Well, things move on apace. The weather's been lovely. We've got on with quite a lot of stuff. Couple of Wedmore issues for you. I don't see it on your agenda. Have you been asked to comment on this sand footpath diversion? I guess that's an Alistair question, really.
Not aware of it.
Okay, Alistair, I will send you the details of the thing that I had. I think I've had it a couple of days. I mean, I don't think it's life-threatening, but I mean, I think they've asked you to comment on it, and it's obviously in the system somewhere for you.
Right.
Okay, and the other issue, of course, is Jonathan at Blackford. I've had a long email from him, and I've responded today about the village gate.
Now, David. He's just here now, just joining now.
Okay.
Hang on a second.
Jonathan, there we are. I was just talking about your ears must have been burning.
Hi.
So I was just saying we've emailed each other about the progress at or in your case, I guess, no progress down at Blackford. And I will just update the parish councillors to where we are with it. I see you've got the village gateways installation on your agenda, which is fine. So I'll leave you to that. We talked about build outs, and I explained to you that Alistair and I had a conversation about the build outs, and Alistair, on behalf of the parish council, said he didn't really want the build outs in Wedmore to take priority over the build outs, sorry, in Blackford to take the priority over the build outs on the Cheddar Road, or the scheme on the Cheddar Road. Just to give you a little bit of background on that, we've been waiting now for, I don't know, possibly nearly a year to get another window open so that we can submit these schemes to the County Council Small Improvement Scheme, which most members will have heard about. I checked earlier today. Currently, we've got 88 schemes in the system, and the only active one that I've got is outside Mark School, which is to install, 20 mile an hour when flashing signs. And I have to say, rather disappointingly, that's probably been in the system now for nearly 3 years. So I can't even put in the Cheddar Road scheme yet because the window hasn't opened, because I think realistically they just don't want to keep backing these schemes up and just get everybody very frustrated. I know it's very frustrating not to get the schemes in the system, but that's where we are. We also had discussions earlier about reducing the speed limits on the Blackford to Wedmore Road, and also you suggested the Blackford to Mark Road. Obviously that bit of the road is from Mark. I will talk to them about it. Their speed of the traffic there would be greater than the Wedmore to Blackford route. But I did explain the rather convoluted way we do things in as regards to speed limit. I will find out when the last time we surveyed the road to find out the speed of the traffic. And I'm happy to expand that conversation, when I've got that information. I think that's.
Put your hand up.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, David. I appreciate you responding before the meeting. It was very helpful. Can I just ask, on the SIS, the 88 requests in the system, what's the capacity of the team? What's the kind of cadence on processing requests? Is that 6 months worth of work? Is it 12 months?
Well, I think when it all started, and we're talking now, possibly possibly nearly 8 years we've been running this scheme. We've delivered over 200, which is 25 a year, although some of them are quite minor and some of them are quite big. And in fact, the Cheddar Road scheme would be one of our biggest. Well, one of the schemes that we did deliver was the traffic calming and build outs at the Wedmore end of the road, which the developers have kindly dug up and replaced with stuff that may or may not be more effective. I do not know, but they've been agreed with the highways. So
if there's a 4-year backlog, is there a plan to increase capacity of the SIS team, considering a lot of these plans and programs are about saving lives, reducing CO2 emissions, and essentially protecting the community of the who obviously put politicians into power and want the best for their own communities?
Absolutely right. And the team capacity and the money we consider to be adequate. I mean, I think there's probably a couple of million quid that rolls through the budget annually on this. I don't know whether it's all spent. As you could imagine, this year has really slowed us down because of the pandemic.
Okay, so 4 years is adequate that's considered adequate as a lead time?
No, I would say that when we started, we were on 2 years, and I'm saying it's now gone out because of the pandemic. I'm not using the pandemic as a complete excuse, but you will understand that quite a lot of our staff, as of the district council staff, have been redeployed. And also the contractors have been extremely busy. Those of us who've tried to get builders or contractors to do any work recently have found that, you know, they've now got huge lead times, which is fantastic for them, but very frustrating if you're trying to get stuff done.
And are there any other routes to build out other than the SIS scheme?
Well, there are, but then that falls on the finances of the parish council. If you wanted to jump the queue, I think we've probably discussed this before. I think your best bet and your best option initially is to get your village gateways done. But though I don't want to influence
I wasn't concerned about money. Money, as I've mentioned previously a few times, I don't think money is a concern. Money can be raised quite relatively easily. The bottleneck at the moment appears to be getting the build outs designed. So when we spoke in December, we had agreed that the request for the design work would be put in December, because once we have it designed, we can get it costed. Once we get it costed, we can get it funded. Raising money is not a problem at all. That getting the design is key. And if we have to wait 4 years for a design, that does create a lot of concerns for the residents in Blackford and the residents in Wedmore, who are every day dodging cars with their lives. There's another collision yesterday, frankly, there's a constant. It's not getting any better. So I think immediate escalation is required within the design team to bring this forward, and willing to speak with that team directly if we can find a way to manage that.
Okay, so what I will take away from this meeting this evening, and I will get back to you and I will copy it to Alistair and the parish council, is I will find out how to get the design contractors to work quicker at your cost and the cost. If you're saying money's no object, I love parish councils like Wedmore. Money's no object.
Well, I'm not talking on behalf of the parish. I'm talking on behalf of the community.
Oh, I see. Okay, absolutely fantastic.
I'm not responsible for the parish council funds, but what I'm talking on behalf of is the residents who simply want to get something done, and a 4-year timeline for just designing alone is simply inadequate and unreasonable. So if we can get the design work done, then we can obviously then look at how we get it costed and budgeted.
Okay, I will take that away from this meeting.
Great.
I seem to have a couple of hands up. I've got Judy and I've got Alistair. I think Judy was first.
Alistair and then Judy.
Oh, Alistair, then Judy. Sorry, Chairman, I'm not presuming here.
I just wanted to comment on your opening remark about that I had shown some favour for Cheddar Road to Blackford. What I'm sure I was trying to get over was that it would be disappointing for Cheddar to be have got so far having a scheme designed and then not to get into the programme at an early date. And I certainly didn't express a preference. In fact, between us in the council, we've considered Blackford was a higher priority, but still a lot of work to be done in comparison to the Cheddar situation. So I think tried to clarify that.
Alistair, I wasn't intending to drop you in it, but it's entirely up to the parish council to come up with the priorities. Neither of these schemes have been submitted. As you said, we have what I would almost describe as a shovel-ready scheme at Cheddar. I'm not going to be able to put two schemes in. So if the parish council want to go away and prioritise the Blackford scheme, then I will work with that.
Yeah, I think that's been agreed previously by us. If everybody else,
I have had no email to tell me that. So again, that's news to me. Thank you.
Judy?
Am I the only person? I can barely hear Jonathan. I can hear everyone else.
I'm struggling here, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Jonathan, very quiet.
I didn't really catch an awful lot of it.
okay. Well,
But I can hear everyone else fine.
You've missed out, Judy. I'll send you a recording. Sorry. Yeah, it's probably partly to do with
That's better now.
my vocal cords not quite being as strong as they could be.
You got to stop shouting at the children, Jonathan.
You guessed it.
Yeah, Sean. You're muted. Sorry.
Hi, David. What percentage of highways money is spent on cycle routes for the whole of Somerset? Have you any idea? Is it?
Oh gosh.
I'm not trying to catch you out because I don't know either, but
No.
I'm just wondering if there's an increase or
It's a big number now because the government have made a priority. I'm guessing £2 million, but I will again get you the proper number. It won't be far off £2 million. It might be more.
That's great. There's National Cycle Week, 30th of May to the 6th of June, and there's some residents want to highlight the very attractive cycle routes for tourists and locals around.
Right.
I was wondering if you'd like to join us on your bike and your possibly, but you don't have to wear latex, David. But would you like to join us?
That wouldn't be a pretty sight for anybody. But sorry, when did you say it was?
Between May the 30th and the 6th of June, I think it's a national event, and we're planning to sort of just do some cycling. Obviously, within COVID guidelines, there's a certain number of people, but
you will be the only cyclist I've run into, or not physically run into, but passed over the last 3 months who are cycling within COVID guidelines. They all hunt in packs.
Well, okay. Well, we'll give them some. But
look,
good if we have a district councillor to join us for a photo opportunity.
Oh, so we get Polly and Lycra as well. This is fantastic.
Okay. I'll happily come out on my bicycle.
Sean, I do have a bicycle, and I think the tires are pumped up. Okay. I guess it's not all the time, so you give me a couple of dates, and I'll see what I can do.
Okay. It's just about trying to maybe focus on this government stuff. There's lots of stuff in the press about more cycling, more footpaths, and less carbon as a result of that.
Well, so, I'm sure the district council and I, if as a photo opportunity, we would certainly be there.
All right. Okay. I'll keep you posted.
Thank you.
I might even do some cycling. David,
up to everybody.
Well, I'm thinking I don't want to go up and down Billings Hill a lot. I'll go down it. But pick a nice flat route, and I'm your man.
Don't cycle through Poolbridge Road because drivers do 50 miles an hour. So
don't do that.
I tell you, not with the district and the county councillor in the way. They won't be going anywhere very fast. Because we'll be pretty effective roadblocks, I'm sure. Chairman, is there anything else? Otherwise, I
don't know. Any other questions for David, folks? Oh, Isabel's got a hand up. Go, Isabel.
David, the leak on Church Street still hasn't been fixed.
Oh gosh, I would have hoped it would have dried up by now because we haven't had any rain this month. Again, you've had numerous emails from not Lawrence Hackling, your other man, who does the roads, and
Liam Gill.
Liam Gill, and it is. I mean, it's a constant source of frustration for everybody, not least of all anybody who lives in Wedmore. So, but I can't speed up the contractors to get to it any quicker, I'm afraid.
Anybody else for David? No, it doesn't look like it.
Well, thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your evening, and look forward to meeting all in person shortly. Shall we hope? Bye bye.
Just briefly, from the District Council point of view, I've chaired one licensing and general purposes panel to an application for a variation of an existing premises license in Breen. After complaints have been received, we did grant the application because they were only applying for extra outdoor space in order to do outdoor payments for COVID. I chaired a licensing general purposes committee as well, where we just had a briefing session from Alan Weldon, the services and licensing manager, and Richard Noakes, the COVID support officer, and lots of other things going on in the parish, lots of things about planning, and the usual from me. Moving on, let's just see what's next on the agenda. Unless anyone's got any questions for me. Brilliant. Oh,
sorry. Well, it was just that question about ending virtual meetings. I have been in the parish room a number of times, and with 16 of us and Rod and a couple of visitors and a couple of members of the public, it's going to be extremely difficult to social distance, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we had any intention of starting in May, potentially in June.
Okay.
Potentially in June. We're still going to look at that one as well. There's other issues as well. But we normally travel, Alistair. We normally travel abroad to Blackford and Thiel in the summer month, July and August. We're in the village halls. So I think that will be an option for us.
So we're looking at potentially June and July on the road show.
Or maybe probably July and August.
June, like a little road show.
For the meeting.
It's nice to go somewhere else and then no one turns up, but it's good to have a change of scene.
Thank you for that.
That's quite all right. Just look at my phone. Sorry. Item number 3, to record any declarations of interest.
I have none, Chair.
No. Brilliant. Let's move on there. Item number 4, minutes of the meeting held on the 17th of March 2021 to be approved.
They have been circulated. There was one minor amendment which Emily brought up, which I've changed. But if everybody's in agreement, we'll sign them tomorrow. Yeah.
Brilliant. No one's objecting, right? So drop them around. Thank you very much, Rod. Item number 4, matters arising.
Could I just clarify about the electricity bill for the council rooms? I just didn't forget to turn off the heating during the winter months. The police have been using our council rooms as a venue for report writing, using the loo, making coffee, and showing a good presence in Wedmore. And I think the heater was turned up by one of the officers and not turned down afterwards. And so we had a really hefty bill. And I must just warn everybody, we've got not quite such a hefty bill coming in for the next quarter, which will be the final winter quarter. I've now turned the heating off completely down there. And that'll be the end of the matter, I hope.
Wow. Anyone wants to go and take it on with the police, good luck. Naughty police for turning it up.
Wow.
It's a bit annoying, isn't it?
And they still got a key, but they are using it at weekends and evenings, and about 3 or 4 times a week.
Okay, that's a bit of a shame that happened. Public participation, item number 6.
I think they're all on the agenda.
Brilliant. So we'll just carry on. Item number 7, financial matters.
Yeah, all the bills been paid and listed, and I've had the audit. expecting accounts back from Emily and from Joe.
Okay, lovely. Item number 6, to consider costs for the installation of a village gateway at Blackford. Over to you, Jonathan.
Great. Would you like me just to present a summary of what's happened and the request? Is that probably the easiest thing to do?
We'd love you to present a summary, thanks.
I am disabled from presenting, Rod, if you're able to undisable me.
No, I can hear you.
Yeah, I'm disabled from presenting.
You need to do something technical here now, Rod.
What do I do here, Jonathan?
Okay, you need to make me, how would you
I think you go to security, Rod, and
Great. You should be able to see on full screen. Can you see my screen?
Could you speak up a bit?
Can you see my screen?
That's better. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. So I think we all know the problem statement, so I won't go through that. Obviously, speeding is an issue and remains an issue in Blackford. And obviously evident from David that measures from County Council are going to be a long way off. So one of the measures that we had previously provisionally agreed was to put village gateways going into Blackford at both ends, along with other measures as well. So the village gateways are essentially white picket fence style things, which sit on the side of the highway and have a message such as "Welcome to Blackford, please drive carefully," or also remind the driver of the speed limit. Now on the Mark side, coming into Blackford, we had 2 preliminary locations which were actually approved by the County Council, but on discussing with Mark Parish Council, I discovered that they're actually in Mark and they were not comfortable with the words "Welcome to Blackford" being in Mark. So they asked us to move them closer up to Blackford, which we did. Unfortunately, that location as well was too far within Mark. So we then reached an agreement that we wouldn't have any mention of the word Blackford, Village Blackford, in the Mark Parish. Didn't quite realize how far down Mark goes down the hill into Blackford. So what we've agreed with the Mark Parish Council is that we can have a gateway here, which is on the 30-mile-an-hour sign as you come up the rise towards Blackford. And that will not say "Welcome to Blackford, please drive carefully," but it will have a 30-mile-an-hour roundel and messages such as "slow down" or something similar, which I'm yet to get designed, hence my very average PowerPoint work here to simulate what we'll have. Along with this, I'm also going to be speaking with David about improving these signs. So we have better signs and hopefully a red brick area, so red blocks on the road, which are proven to reduce driver speed, and also rumble strips and so forth to assist drivers slowing down, because it's evident that a build out is going to take a very long time. So I think better signage and rumble strips and things on the ground are going to be more supportive. So this location is approved by Mark Parish Council, as is the type of sign we would have. So we can only get one here. We can't get one on the left-hand side because you need a minimum 450 mil from the highway before the gateway starts. Okay, so any questions about the Mark side there? No, very good. So then we looked at, as we come down into Blackford, as you go over the Reen, that's where Blackford officially starts. Here there's as it's in the top left-hand corner, you can see the current Blackford sign, which is very simple and kind of lost behind the, or with the, the brambles behind. And we're looking to replace that one with a larger gateway where here we can say Blackford and please drive carefully, and also probably use it as an opportunity to remind drivers that it is 30-mile-an-hour sign. So the width is going to be similar to the sign that we have there now, but obviously it's has a larger, so it has a better presence and also reminds drivers of the speed limit. So that's the 2 on the Mark end of Blackford. Okay. And then we go to the Wedmore entrance. Now here we had original location was approved by the Somerset County Council after they did a site visit, but on later being told that you need this 450 mil gap, I remeasured and discovered that you can't get a gateway in at all. So that one was scrapped. So then it left us with 2 alternative locations. You can see here in the middle, I've got the 30-mile-an-hour sign that indicates where the 30-mile-an-hour zone starts. And as you go down, there is 2 possible locations. Let me just check the next one. It doesn't tell you. So the first one here is actually next to a field. So it's a gate entrance. There's plenty of space for a gateway. On this side, we can get one in, but there is a verge which ideally requires a fence moving back a little bit. It's a very old concrete fence. I need to understand who owns that land and whether they could give us 300 mil to get a gateway in. I also need to speak with the Coombs Dairy about a gateway near their field entrance and whether that would be suitable. However, it's not an ideal location, I have to say, because when you're there on foot, it looks like it's okay, it's nice and visible and so on. But when you actually drive down, when you're coming around the corner and you're doing 40, 50, 60, before you hit the 30-mile-an-hour mark, you don't really see these 2 gateways very well. So my preference is to put 2 gateways here, where there is plenty of verge space and lots of visibility for drivers coming in. However, again, it requires an understanding of who owns the verge, because this is the 2 locations I'm referring to. This one here is outside the Axe Valley Vets. So I assume their boundary is the fence, and maybe this is owned by the council. Yeah. And this one here is outside Hugh Sexy's Middle School. So again, I assume that their boundary of land is the fence, and this may be owned by the council as well. But these need to be discussed with those two parties, and also with Somerset County Council, because they may have concerns over visibility of drivers on this junction here. So we've got potential locations either further up here or after the junction. So what we're looking for today is approval of the funding, and then I'll figure out with the relevant parties the most suitable and approved location to make sure everybody is satisfied.
Jonathan, the gated entrance to Coombs, is the land's actually owned by Sexy's
estate.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, they've got a long lease on it. My concern, I have spoken to him, but we've not managed to meet up, is just want to make sure that they can easily access that. And, you know, with a tractor and a trailer, if we put a nice white gateway next to them, there's obviously a pretty muddy field entrance as well. So the last thing we want is a white gateway becoming brown for half the year. So, but yeah, thank you, Pete. Yeah. Any other questions or comments at this stage on locations?
So you can get away with it, I think.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's pretty limited. There really are very limited places because the hedgerows predominantly are very close to the highway.
Yeah.
Sorry, Pete.
I have to say, Jonathan, I think the ones here that we're looking at right now by the school are going to have to be a no-no, because they are the visibility already trying to turn out.
Visibility is bad there anyway.
Yeah.
There's something else in the way, it's not going to make
Unfortunately,
it, I'm afraid.
It would be a great place to put them, but I think it'll just cause an accident. Which is
Do they have to be at that height, or can we put something in higher that might possibly stick over the top of the hedge? Because you're not getting much of a warning anyway of the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit when you come into Blackford from Wedmore anyway. People don't slow down until after they've seen the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit, by which stage they're probably on the crossroads, and that's where the kids and everyone cross to get to and from school.
Yes, exactly.
So I mean, it would be nice to extend the 30-mile-an-hour speed limit back towards Wedmore anyway.
Yes, personally
thinking, but
yeah, I think our options with gateways will be limited in terms of anything higher, anything different. I think but your idea is absolutely correct, Jackie, that moving it back or even improving the highway signs. There are much better, bigger highway signs that can go in, school zone, collision zone, danger zone. It can be 3 times as big as what's there today. And I think that's probably going to be the next course of action, because they really are struggling. We could spend money and put them higher up and agree with the Coombs that they're happy and whoever owns the fence on the other side. But the visibility isn't great, and I don't think they're going to be that effective. What would be more effective is getting the county council to really just take something out of their stock, out of their warehouse, and make the signage much bigger. Yeah. So if anyone's got their hand up, I can't see, by the way, because I'm in display mode. I could only see a couple of people. I saw Pete I think you had your hand up, Pete.
Same point as Polly. Highways will never allow you on visibility displays on that junction.
Yeah. Okay.
And also, Jonathan, location A, also maybe when the housing goes through on and the Axe Valley bit, that might be a location maybe for a crossing.
Yes.
A tentative location,
Yes.
but so I don't think it'd work at location A.
Yeah, they'll probably, I guess they'll probably have to be moved at that point, dug out and relocated somewhere. Yeah. Yeah.
Jonathan, rumble strips I think are very effective at the right position, and then either before or after a rumble strip, a sign in the road, which is obviously not visible, not a visibility problem at all. Rumble strips tend to wake people up, but I don't know how much highways are into that at all. But I think that's probably an effective reminder. Perhaps.
Doesn't see you, Pete.
No, I can only see a couple of people. Just talk away. Don't wait for me.
I know it's a little bit further out of the village, but you've got an option at the entrance to what was Trevor Holes, which the piggeries. You've got a wide gated entrance there. On the opposite side, you've got the drove that goes round, that comes back onto Wells Way. You could get your gated entrance in there, appreciated that it's a little bit further out of the village.
Okay, I'm not sure where you mean, but I can follow up afterwards.
Jonathan, the other thing I'm just looking at on the agenda, it says to consider costs for the installation.
Yes, so maybe I move forward to that then.
Yeah.
So yeah, the locations I think on the as you say on the Wedmore entrance, I think are challenging, and my personal view is that it's not going to be effective on the Wedmore end, even if we do put them in. So I think we need to seek alternative measures with the county council. But on the so this is obviously I've got the other slides here showing this is the entrance where near the Coombs farm where I was looking at. Here it looks fine, in this kind of image it looks like it's going to work, but when you're traveling in a car at speed, it just doesn't really stand out, and you don't. There is a corner behind this photograph, and you don't really see them till it's quite late.
What's the red on the road that you can see just by that gateway? Was that something that
was clearly some old red section, which is completely worn away, and most of the yellow lines as well in Wedmore.
Can we get that redone?
Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to build a proposal for David for. Is I've done quite a bit of research into what works in different villages and towns around the country. There's quite a lot of data which clearly people have worked hard on around the country, and these red zones are demonstrated to work very effectively because they give people the perception that the road is narrower, and people actually drift into the middle a little bit and actually slow down as a result. So it's rather than putting signs in people's faces, it's the psychological effect of perception which changes driver speeds, and it seems to be quite well researched and proven that it does work. So I think that is something I've already put to him in my email yesterday.
Brilliant.
The road in question is Rush Hill Lane, comes out opposite the piggeries.
Okay.
Which is just before Providence House.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have a look at that then. The only thought is people are doing 60 there and continue to do 60. And whether it'll actually help them take the foot off the gas, which is what we want them to do, is to drop from 50, 60 down to the 30. It may be too early, but I'll have a look and certainly give it thought. Thank you. So in terms of costs, I think for this evening, let's maybe focus on the ones at the mark end of the village. So first of all, there is one major supplier, UK-wide, pretty much have a monopoly, called Glasden. They're recommended by SCC, and essentially it's a special plastic material which is hard wearing and not affected by UV lights and so forth, and is also approved for impact testing. Their lead time is 4 to 6 weeks, and the county council can install them at £100 each, or we can have our own installer if they are authorised to work on the roadside. County council lead time is 6 to 12 weeks, so if we can find somebody quicker, then obviously all the better. And I haven't had these new ones at the mark end designed. But looking at their price list, I estimate them to be about 1,500 and 1,100. So about 2,600 plus a couple of hundred for installation. So looking at 2,800 plus VAT. And that's what I would be seeking approval for this evening to proceed with that order.
I'll second that.
And me.
Sorry, I can't see anybody. I don't know who's.
Alistair, I'm seconding it.
Alistair, thank you.
I'll stop sharing for you.
Am I back in charge again then?
Well, I'm not sure I want to give you control in it. No, I don't know how to give you control. I think you can uncontrol me, but I won't touch my keyboard in case I mess it up.
I see. Yeah, you're still hosting.
Jonathan, you have to go to the top right-hand corner, find the participants, and then make Rod host again.
Okay.
I've become far too familiar at this, I'm afraid.
Pete, get a real life.
Or a job where you actually meet people.
Yes, that's right.
Come on, work in a bakery then.
Okay.
Right, so I think we had a proposer.
That's Jonathan, yeah.
Well, I think, yeah.
And seconded by us, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this 2,800 plus that?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favour? Yeah, looks like a full house. Jonathan, well done. That's a brilliant bit of work. Thank you very much. Very professional slide.
Thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for backing the proposal.
Yeah, and well
Appreciate
done
it.
for grilling David, because you really put him on the spot there. So that's pretty good.
Well,
you're still shown as host, Jonathan. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm trying.
Okay.
Sorry, which way? I got the view in the top right, but.
Pete, can you help?
Get the list of participants to come down. Click on the 3 little dots. Get the list of participants to come down on the right-hand side, and then make host. Or click on participants at the bottom. Yes. Maybe where your screen is set up, but then you can make host.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, I have that now.
Emily, you had your hand up.
Thank you.
No, that was a clapping emoji.
Oh, was it? Brilliant. Your hair looks very nice, by the way.
Oh.
Great. So that's that. Lovely. Great work. Thank you, Jonathan. Right.
Yes, wrong.
Continuing on with item number 9, to consider costs for tree and groundworks at Blackford Play Area. Jackie Farley.
Thank you. The play area at Blackford, we've got 2 issues that need to be resolved. One is some fencing, which I will come back to the committee at another stage to deal with. But to facilitate some of that fencing work, we need to deal with some of the trees that are around the park, especially along the field side. A lot of trees have just been allowed to just self-seed, and there's very little light and airflow that comes through the park, especially when it's starting to get a bit wetter, which is not at the moment, obviously, which means that the play area gets very slippery around certain pieces of equipment that are in the play area, because there's just not enough air movement to dry things out. And we have a tractor in there, Charlie's tractor, that was paid for by a family that lost a child. And that's suffering with rot just because there's simply not enough airflow flowing through the area. So what we'd like to do would be to have some tree work done and take down some of the self-seeded trees, particularly along the field side, but we also need to do something about the trees around the roadside, because they're encroaching on the fencing and pulling it down in places. So we've had 2 quotes, one from Ground Level for £768 and one from Nick Duckett for £800. So they're very close in price. It's a question of whether the committee are prepared to fund that work. I did notice that 2 years ago, approval was given for some other works to be done at Blackford, but I don't know what that quote was actually for, and whether that work was actually carried out.
It was clearing trees which were getting involved with the power lines
Okay.
on the roadside.
Well, I don't think we need to worry about power lines this time, but we do need to sort something out about the trees.
Yeah, we definitely do, because we need to do the refence it as well, don't we? And they're
Yeah.
obscuring the, getting in the way of the fence. So it's work that definitely needs to be done. And poor old Blackford Park has got in a real state. So our committee are trying very hard to get it back and very usable. So have I got anyone who, well, Jackie's proposing this. Have I got a seconder? Emily will second that. Yeah, all in favour of supporting some tree works at the play area?
Can I ask which contract you're supporting?
I think I would support ground level. There's not much in it, but
No, I know. No.
Perfect. Good stuff. Thank you, Jackie, for sorting all that out.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Thank you, peeps. Right. Next, item number 10. To consider, I'm feeling very sorry for our guest about the Community Health Fund. He's sitting here for hours. Pete,
don't worry about it.
Sorry to
not long to wait.
Right, so item number 10, to consider a request for a further grant from Wedmore Playing Fields Committee. Who's in charge of this one? Well, I'm going to speak first. Wedmore Playing Fields Committee have done such incredible work at our play area. Pete and his team have raised masses and masses, well, millions of pounds. I think this is pretty much the money towards the mugger. I think this is pretty much one of the last things they have to do. And I know they came to us for a grant for £2,500. But personally, I would like to propose, if I'm allowed to, that we give them a payment of £10,000, because this will set a precedent for them being able to get money, opening up money from other people like Viridor. I'll open up the debate and see what people want to say. Anybody got anything to say on it?
Hello?
Hello. Oh, Pete, you on the phone? Anybody?
Alistair.
I've got Susan and I've got Alistair.
I just asked Pete whether how far he's got with Sedgemoor Council.
It was Abe, I think.
Pete, you're not muted. Right.
No, that's right. It was just a grandson who rang.
Oh, lovely.
Following our last meeting, or just before the last meeting, I forwarded councillors a copy of an email from Nick Tate down at Sedgemoor. When I spoke to him, I then had a subsequent conversation after the last parish council meeting with Stuart Hewlett as well. The problem that Sedgemoor have at the moment, which they are trying to seek ways around, is that whilst they have a very good system for collecting SIL monies, they do not have the system or the paperwork or the legislation in place to distribute it, for people to apply for it and distribute it to anything other than things that they can internally administer, such as the Bridgewater Flood Relief Scheme. So they can easily divert their SIL monies because they've got policy documentation in place to say that they should support it. Their wider general policy says that with their SIL funding, they will support all sorts of other projects as long as they either meet certain criteria or are mentioned in certain documents. And this is where, because our project is the number one priority in the local football facilities plan, which in turn informs the Sedgemoor District Council plan, it ticks the box in that respect, but there is no process by which we can apply for SIL funding. But to their credit, both Nick and Stuart have said they will try and look into it. Their problem is that they have a number of other matters to address. This is not top of their list, and whether it gets resolved in the next 6 months is doubtful. But I've sent two subsequent emails and had a second conversation with Nick Tate. They're trying to work with us, but unfortunately, because they haven't got process in place, I think the opportunity may not present itself, but I'll keep pushing as hard as I can.
Okay, Sue, you had your hand up too? But you're muted, darling. That's just two tonight.
Sorry. I was just going to say that at the last priorities meeting, I did say I would ask Pete, and I did speak to Pete about this subject. And so really, it's just doubling up. That was what my hand was up for. But Pete's answered the question that Alistair wanted the answer to. Okay.
Okay. Isabel.
Pete, could you tell me if you've had any funds released to you? Everything was pending. Have you had any confirmation from anybody to say that you're actually going to get some funds?
Nope. We are where we are. I have had correspondence with Bernard Sunley Foundation, and the problem is for some of the funders, they like to see, and this is where you find yourself in a horrible catch-22 situation, they like to see that other funding is in place before they'll give you funding. And I explained to them that in this instance, the Football Foundation want to be the last brick funder. In other words, the last funder to the project, and they are the major funder to the project, because what they want to do is make sure that the project is fully funded and goes ahead. And what they don't want to do, because their grant system doesn't allow you to go back, is grant you 100,000 when in fact you needed £123,425. And so they wait until the rest of the funding is in place. So I've explained this to the Bernard Sunley Foundation. They're happy to accept that. So which the mere fact that they'd contacted me, I'd take as a very positive sign, because they'd not done that previously on any of the previous applications to them. So I'm fairly confident we'll get something out of Bernard Sunley. We've passed the Viridor stage 1 application. I had a chat with Phil Leftley last week. And again, explain the Football Foundation funding issue. He has recommended that we apply for a full £50,000. I think in the funding proposal I've put forward, I'm only showing 45, but that's because we have to find a contributing third party who will put 10% of the award into Entrust to bid for the money to be released. It's a painful scheme, and I really don't like the way it operates, but those are the rules that they operate under. So effectively, £5,000 of £50,000 we might accumulate has to go back to Entrust to get the 45,000. So it's the sort of 45 net figure from Viridor, but because we've passed the stage 1 and had again a positive conversation last week, we're good with and you know, I'm as confident as I can be that we'll get the money from Viridor. Again, I had a follow-up call with National Grid. They temporarily paused their application process because they were oversubscribed, but again made positive noises because they previously supported the new pavilion project, and they're keen because it represents something fairly large and tangible in an area where they've got a lot of activity, rather than, so that they're keen to be associated with it. So that the major funders are there or thereabouts. Some of the like the Clark Foundation, they meet on a quarterly basis, so I won't hear back from a number of them until May and June. But should an award be made this evening, in addition to the ward we see previously, what I always do is then contact all of the potential funders with an update as we secure funding, so it builds the picture. And I can't overestimate that the value of what is perceived from outside as local funding. Yes, we've got lots of letters of support, but you know, it's putting your money where your mouth is, and that physical financial contribution, not only from the football club, but from the parish council. I really hope I can squeeze some out of Sedgemoor. Sends a fantastic message to the national funders or the occasional trust funds that, you know, the locality is behind the project. And on that basis, the same funding strategy of building a local pot and then successfully getting funds from bigger trust funds and national funders has seen us good on every other project at the playing fields. And we've successfully completed every project we set out on, and actually sat here, I've got no doubt that we'll successfully complete this project.
Sean.
Yeah, was it? Am I right? You were originally looking for 25,000, and I'm just wondering how the round figure of 10,000 this time has come about.
Well, it would be very nice if you could give 25,000, Sean.
No, that's not what I said. I said
Oh.
it was that you reduced it to 10, and I'm just wondering, you know,
I
10
haven't.
seems a nice round number. Is that what just your proposal, Polly? Yeah.
My proposal is that I believe we should support it. We can't.
Oh, no, that's just the actual figure I was looking. I was how did you arrive at that figure? It's just.
You should have been at the priorities meeting.
I've just thought we can't give them 20. We can't give them 25. We've given them 2.5 and a grant. So the figure of £10,000 seemed like it's going to set off some good extra funding from other places for them. But it's up for discussion. Someone might want to put in a counter proposal. We'll vote on it.
Yeah. The other question is, Pete. You mentioned earlier about the Football Council, if that's the right term, who likes to be the last funders, so they know that their amount is exactly that. I mean, I think Wedmore Parish Council would like some reassurance that there's no ongoing costs for in 5 or 6 years' time with the project needing upgrading because something else. That's a final sum for that particular project. It's not. Is that correct?
The way that the Football Foundation, part of their grant conditions, obviously we've got to put an income and expenditure plan together for them, which not only covers maintenance, but we have to annually put funds towards. Generally, the artificial grass carpet has got a life expectancy of 8 to 10 years. That's the main apart from maybe replacing an LED light fitting or something. That's the main component that they want to see a sinking fund in place for. And so as part of our final application to them, we have to present a full financial package, which includes a sinking fund that will replace that cover, because they want a sustainable project rather than a one-off payment, and then we come back in 8 years' time and apply for another carpet. You know, with the 2 other projects previously with them, there's always been an ongoing financial commitment from the playing fields as the part of the terms of the grant award. So it's a fairly onerous application process, but then again, for over £100,000, you'd expect it to be.
Jackie?
Just a quick one. If we are minded to give £10,000, do we give it with a caveat that it is purely to be spent on the mugger? And if Pete doesn't happen to get all his eggs in a row and it doesn't come off, we get our £10,000 back?
Jackie, we wouldn't expect to take £10,000 from you until the project was at the point of starting, when we needed to pay any costs. A letter
Brilliant. Thank you.
Saying that if you were prepared to award funds, those funds would be released when all funding's in place, something along those lines.
Thank you.
however you wish to word it.
Yeah, so you just need a letter of intent at the moment, but
Yeah.
with the understanding that we would pay it in due course.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to say, to answer your question again, Sean, Pete didn't come and say he wanted £10,000 or anything like that. That's a figure that I have come up with that I think is acceptable to finish this amazing project off. But anybody else can put in a counter offer if they'd like to. Anybody else got any questions for Pete? Anyone got a counter proposal? Anybody want to second my proposal?
Sue Worrell.
Okay. All those in favour that we give them £10,000 to finish the mugger off?
Is not everybody voting?
No. So we've got.
I want to count, please.
We've got 1, 2. Pete, are you voting? Tinny?
Oh, Tinny.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in favour. Those against? 1 against. Any abstentions? 1 abstention.
1 and 1. Okay, thank you.
There you go, Pete.
Passed.
It's been passed.
Thank you very much. I fully intend coming back with an update for the Parish Council in due course, advising that we've secured the funding and we'll be starting the project on a given date. Thank you very much all for your time.
I'm sorry we couldn't give you any more.
No, greatly appreciated. And I just hope that actually this acts as a bit of leverage on Sedgemoor.
Well, let's hope so too.
To see if we can, maybe you can assist in the process of easing some funding from Sedgemoor District Council through a process they haven't got yet.
I'll happily help you in any way I can.
Brilliant.
Thank you very much for coming, Pete.
Thank you and good night.
Good night. Right. Oh, I've lost Mr. Pringles. Right. Oh, our poor guest who's been waiting for hours. Item number 11. No, yes, 11. To consider a request for a grant by Wedmore Community Health Fund.
Right.
Good evening.
Sorry?
Good evening, and thank you for waiting so long.
That's quite all right. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Good. That's a good start. Well, good evening, everyone. And thank you for inviting me to explain what we are hoping to achieve in the village. I think, firstly, I ought to give you some background on who we are and what we do, because I believe certainly some of the later arrivals in Wedmore won't know too much about us. On a personal note, I am Alan Benson. I live in Stone Allerton, and I've been a patient of the Wedmore surgery for 37 years. I'm the chairman of the Wedmore and Axbridge Community Health Fund, which is a registered charity covering the area of our medical practice. The charity was established more than 33 years ago by Mrs. Muriel Welsh of Wedmore to enable the purchase of equipment and services that are not provided by the NHS for the benefit of local patients and medical staff and the practice. As a charity, we are able to make most purchases ex VAT, providing we retain ownership. Therefore, much of the equipment in both the surgeries, that's in Wedmore and Axbridge, from ECG machines, medical fridges to examination beds and waiting room chairs, many have been provided by our charity. And because of the VAT restrictions, we actually still own more. They still remain as our property. Within the community, we have also rented stair lifts, specialist wheelchairs and orthopaedic beds. We have also provided defibrillators in both the village, in both the villages. That's obviously Wedmore and Axbridge. The list is almost endless, and I'm very happy to provide further details if anybody's interested in what we've done. We have arranged and also funded Music in Mind in Wedmore and Music Matters in Axbridge. These are run by volunteers for the benefit of dementia and Alzheimer patients and their carers. Also, art classes run by a volunteer for depressed and lonely people. And all these events in the past have been extremely well attended. Obviously, they're all going to start up again when the lockdown is over. But they have continued on a Zoom system over the winter. We also support Western Hospice Care. And you may be surprised to know that currently about 15% of the patients of the practice are in fact under the hospice care nurses. So that's a big number of people. To date, we have relied on patient and family donations and bequests for most of the money we get, amounting to approximately £300,000 since we began our work. Unfortunately, these have reduced dramatically over the last few years, leaving our charity rather concerned about the future. Obviously, things have faded away over the last couple of years. However, as most of you will know, our charity has recently received the proceeds of the sale of the Wedmore Ambulance Trust site in Pilcorn Street. This amounts to around about £381,000, which I'm glad to say is now in our bank account. The original trust acquired the land towards the end of the last war, but it has been derelict for many years, and its trustees decided to wind up their charity and sell the site. As a condition laid down by the original donors, the resulting money had to be passed on to another medical charity with a strong tie to Wedmore. Wedmore and Axbridge Community Health Fund was selected and approved by the Charity Commissioners to receive this funding. My trustees have considered at length what to do with this much needed windfall, but we have agreed unanimously that currently there is no real income to be acquired from the investment market to feed this charity. And although we could spend the money over many years, so much a year, it was a one-off opportunity to invest in a much needed new surgery for Wedmore. Our thinking being that if we utilise the funds to build a new surgery, it would remain the property of the charity. Receipt of a regular rental income from the medical practice would enable us then to continue our work indefinitely within the community, obviously for the foreseeable future. So we'd have a regular income through that route. Over the last month, we've investigated many possible avenues for achieving a new surgery, and depending on specification, we believe that providing our charity can receive the gift of suitable land, and with assistance from the Parish Council, especially with regard to further funding, we could proceed. We already have the voluntary services of a number of professionals, including 2 architects, 1 a specialist in surgery design, and of course the practice partners and manager and the clinical commissioning group down in Yeovil. The medical practice is quite excited at the prospect of a new surgery for Wedmore, and I'm advised that an additional GP is commencing work this week, and interviews are being held currently for a further partner, and I believe there's 2 people up for it at the moment. Whilst the recent injection of funds to our charity has acted as a catalyst and opened up the possibility of a new Wedmore surgery, the Health Fund is not in a position to go it alone and will require a lot of support. It would be wonderful if this project could be helped along not only by Wedmore Parish Council, but also local people, including builders and landowners. We're seriously examining modular construction, which would save up to 30% of construction costs, and apart from groundworks, can be assembled on site in less than a week and be completely fitted out to the clinical commissioning group standards in about 3 weeks. This would result in a huge reduction in building vehicles and general pollution on the site, disruption in the local roads and so on. And the completed building would have the latest environmentally friendly heating, power and ventilation systems. As mentioned earlier, the one missing link so far is a plot of land. We have almost sufficient fund to start the ball rolling with what we've got, although some more money would be useful. It's the land that's missing. As a rough guide, we're looking for a space about the size, for instance, of Wedmore's children's play area. And I'm hopeful that the Parish Council is the best route to locating a possible landowner, especially with a number of new houses built and approved for this area. Obviously, we've got to have a decent car park. It's essential these days, so we would need that as part of the site. And I rest my case there if anybody has any questions.
Lovely, thank you so much, Alan. This is such a kind of exciting bit of news, because I know it's kind of top of everyone's kind of list to get us, you know, when we did the neighbourhood plan, it was very much, you know, this is what we need is health centre for this area. Not everyone can get to Axbridge, and I think it's probably the top of everyone's list, and it will benefit every resident of the community. So let's open it up. Who's got some questions? Anyone? Oh, come on, someone's got a question. Jackie and then Judy.
Have you had any luck at all in finding a suitable plot of land from a landowner?
Well, I obviously have a confidentiality problem.
Yeah, obviously.
We have spoken to 1 or 2 people. One person does have some land within the village, but of course it comes with strings attached, and you can probably imagine what those are. And obviously we are aware that you don't have a lot of land, but you know, apart from things like the nice plot where the scout hut is, you don't have a lot of land available anyway. but I thought that perhaps going out into Wedmore and talking to the people there like I am tonight, you would perhaps know of people or be able to talk to people and so on in the area. Obviously, I live out of Wedmore, and there's not much point in getting land out where I am. So I'm afraid it's a bit of a Wedmore problem. But I obviously would be very interested in anything that we can help with.
So next I had, whose was it? Judy, I think.
Yeah.
And then I've got Sean after that.
It seems to me that if you could get some land near one of the, there's a car park down in the middle of Wedmore, and there's the area up by the playing fields where there's a big car park. If you could get some land adjacent to a car park, that's going to cut your costs considerably, isn't it?
Oh, tremendously. I mean, perhaps I shouldn't say this with the enthusiasts for the sports site, but it does occur to me that the surgery works hard all week between 8:30 and 6 o'clock, which are the times when the car parks are emptiest. And they don't work at the weekends and the evenings when most people are in the car park. So yes, there is a lot of vacant car park space there. The trouble is we don't have any land there. I gather I did mention the children's play area, but I don't think we can have that.
Yeah, I don't think we can get rid of that. But did you not? No. Yeah, it was the playing fields committee up there because the land had been gifted, hadn't it? So I don't know whether you got anywhere with them.
Sorry, Jackie.
You know, I think we put you in touch with the playing fields committee, didn't we? Because there's the village field up there, which is by the tennis court. But I don't know how you got on with talking to them, because I know it was kind of gifted to them, and I don't know whether it's has to be used for sports. I think it probably does.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Although it's actually currently used for a bonfire and fireworks.
That was my question, actually. That piece of
land.
It would be admirable because it's near the school and the sports ground and everything else, and easy to get to and easy to park. But
it's ideal. Sue, do you know any more about that?
No, I don't. I like you thought that it had been gifted to the village.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can find out. But I thought it had been gifted to the village.
Okay, can you do some digging for me?
Yeah, I certainly will.
Thank you. I think Sean was next.
Yeah, I don't know the size of the plot of land you're looking for, but what does the surgery comprise? Is it 3 or 4 treatment rooms?
Well, we've started looking at what we require. We're having sort of working party meetings at the moment. In fact, there's one next week, Tuesday, I think, which involves the practice manager and the architects and ourselves. We've already got some designs out that would be feasible, and depending on the construction methods, we would go for a bungalow type, single-story building with total access for wheelchairs and people with crutches or whatever, so there was no obstructions. We would go for single story because we don't want expensive staircases and lift systems, which wouldn't be necessary. Right. Slightly more ground taken up, but basically it would be very simple to get in and out. In terms of the number of rooms, yeah, we left that finally to 2 people or 2 sections. One obviously is the practice, who are looking at that now, and also the CCG, which is the commissioning group, which is based in Yeovil, who actually decree exactly what you must have and what the rental would be and valuation and so on. So to some extent, we depend on them. But what I do have, or what we have now, is a detailed specification of the size that has to be given for every room, from the caretaker's cupboard through the toilets up to the examination room and so on. So we would go for probably 3 to 4 examination rooms plus a nurse's room.
Okay, you mentioned something about it having the latest renewable technology. I mean, we've got a new green charter here, which one of our values is greening buildings as much as possible in Wedmore as part of a zero carbon achievements we're seeking for 2030. I mean, is that something which is obviously desirable, but then sometimes it gets waylaid because it can be very expensive, when they see how much it costs, it tends to get the first thing to get ditched, and they put in traditional heating and stuff. So just wondering if that's going to remain.
I think in fairness to you, we do consider all of those points. The first thing to say is the reason we started looking at the idea of the modular building construction is that obviously it is much simpler to construct it on site and much cheaper. And in fact, it can reduce the cost by between 10 and 30%, depending on how palatial it's going to be. But also, because it's modular, all the equipment is built into it in the factory, and you can specify the sort of air conditioning, air purification, sanitary, flooring, everything. Now, you may be surprised to know, because I certainly was, there are quite a number of companies in the UK making modular surgeries fully fitted. I had no idea about that, but you can look them up on Google. They're all there, and you can decide what sort of things you have. And to be fair, as I say, the commissioning group down in Yeovil has the last say on exactly what is required. So I'm quite sure they would go for the best anyway.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I've got Jonathan, and then I've got Judy.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, first of all, I echo Polly. I think this is an excellent initiative and something which is really important for the community and will have a lasting effect. I think that location next to the tennis courts is also really important, and that should be exhausted to every degree because as people have said, it's ideal location next to schools, next to sports facilities, and the parking is there. Building on Sean's point, I think the building being carbon neutral as it operates over the years, I think is important. So when you're talking about build, you're talking about obviously the customers in mind, the patients in mind, which is great, making sure they have access and so on. But I think making sure that it is carbon neutral with its heating, whether it's ground source, solar and so forth, I think would also be important. And then in terms of the number of rooms, I think also consider about future proofing. We want this building, I think, if it goes ahead, to be there in 20, 30 years and have the capacity for the village size in 20, 30 years time, probably. Would 3 rooms be enough? Should we have 4 or 5? And considering the strain on NHS and the increase in mental health issues, you did mention the excellent work you're doing with music and art and so on, whether rooms for those type of services should also be considered on top of general practice.
Right. Okay, Jonathan. Well, firstly, I take on board what you're saying. We wouldn't have sufficient money to build community facilities to start with, but I take up the point that you made, which is that it would be very nice if the bit of land had enough room to extend the building as and when it was required. And again, with modular construction, that's not too difficult. Anybody here who has had to go down to the Mulberry Centre at Barrow for an injection recently will be aware that's a health centre. The dentist there, everybody's there, and again, it's well out of town, as it were. But the buildings are actually separate, and so if you imagine, if you have enough land, you can build another building on it, or you can extend the existing building. There's all sorts of things you can do in the future. Now, our intention really is not to future-proof it as part of our project, but for the planners to decide how much room it will need for the future. At the moment, as you rightly say, as the village expands, heaven forbid, how far out, we aren't planning on building a health centre at the moment. We're planning on building a surgery for the doctors and nurses, and really that's it at the moment. Much the same as the existing old surgery, but in rather better condition.
Judy?
I just have to stress the car parking. Having worked most of my life in surgeries, there's just never, ever enough parking. And we are a rural community, and 90% of the people that come to that practice will be arriving by car. They won't be arriving on foot, they'll be coming by car, and particularly mums and babies and older people who need close access. I just think that the car parking is so important.
That's why it's so important for us to try and secure that field up by the tennis court.
Yeah. And if we're talking green, if you haven't got to build a car park, I mean, you know, what more awful use of land is a car park? If we can use an existing one, it's got to be the right.
I would agree entirely.
Yeah, we've got Sue and then I've got Jackie.
Yeah, just to follow up from Judy, as far as the car parking is concerned, it's an interesting point you raised, because I think the car parking in Wedmore will become more popular with the people in Axbridge. And I don't know whether anybody has been to Axbridge lately, but you realise that the very nice field next door to that, or behind the surgery, has just been granted planning permission for, I think it's 53 houses. If that goes ahead, all the parking in the road out the front there will be fronted with houses. So I don't think all that parking will be there anymore. And so going to the surgery of Axbridge is going to become a little bit more difficult. But don't tell them I said that, but that's my opinion. I think you will have more people coming to Wedmore simply to park. I agree to you.
Who was the other person who had their hand up? Sue.
Hi. Yeah, just that field, just to flag up. That's where the Harvest Home has been. That they're going to use that field for the Harvest Home as well, aren't they? I'm just flagging it up.
Yeah, they are, but I don't see why, you know, Silky's they've got a marquee up on the playing field where they used to put it. I just, you know, maybe that could happen. It happened.
Right. Yeah. Okay. No, but I'm just, you know, if we can we'll need to speak to them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But I think everyone will be in agreement that there's a much better use for it.
Hopefully,
Jackie?
That was my comment, because didn't we have someone come along and ask for some money to help with drainage for Harvest Home a while ago?
They were going to. Nobody has come forward.
But I think you're right that there is a flooding issue, isn't there, with that field? There's something to do with drainage.
Well, there's terrible flooding all along that road, so
all along that road, because the water from right up the top of Spurtsmead comes right down through from sand, basically, and comes in either down Madwoman's Lane or the ditches, and right to above Springfield Drive. It starts. There's a really fierce spring that starts at the back of there, and it flooded. You know, I know the '68 floods or whatever it was, but the field is very, very wet.
It floods every time it rains really heavily. So the thing is, Alan, you might have to build it on stilts with ramps.
Well, yes, we haven't made provision for that, but I do agree. I did know it was in a floodplain because I know the field on the other side of the road is also, which we sort of looked at, is in the floodplain, and that can make building considerably more expensive, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, sure.
Right, Sean, did you have anything again?
No, it's just I was thinking, everybody's thinking about the centre of Wedmore, but we've got Blackford and we've got the field. There might be, it's not in the centre of the town, but there might be more land available if we know suitable landowners, because it's on the major road anyway. So I just
think we were thinking that the car park was built.
Yes, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
I saw Alistair's hand go up.
Yeah, I want to make a more general point. We have this opportunity with SIL money, which has come about because we've had a lot of houses built. And when we look back 5 years' time of what we've done with that money, I can't think of a finer example of providing something really beneficial for the whole community than getting a proper doctor's surgery in Wedmore. So
yeah,
I'm fully supportive of it, and I think you know, we should be trying to expedite it in any way we can. And if we can find land, if we can find builders who do the foundation, I understand on some projects elsewhere, local people, local businesses have chipped in by putting in fencing or digging foundations. If we could get some of that spirit going, I think it would be a really fantastic village project.
I agree completely. I mean, we did have our priorities session the other night. I don't know if I'm allowed to spill beans, but we would
Yeah.
like to put a considerable amount of money of SIL money towards your project, Alan.
All right, okay.
I think we were going to ring fence. Am I allowed to talk figures?
Well, I would like, very happy to.
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay, well, I think we were going to ring fence £100,000.
Oh, what?
Wow. Well, that would be tremendous, because that's putting us up towards the $500,000. And the thing is also, interestingly, the VAT circumstances surrounding the new build, because it's not a business, as a charity, we get VAT back, and new buildings very often don't pay VAT, providing the people that are going into it aren't a business in terms of making money. In other words, if the surgery is regarded as a non-profit making business, the VAT is not paid. As soon as you have a business which is making a profit, then they expect to get VAT. It's a technical area, and we've looked at some of it, but you need somebody specialist, really.
Yeah, well, that's what we would like to propose.
That's kind of you.
Can I second that as a formal proposal, that we're saying that we will put aside the first £100,000 of SIL money that we're expecting. So we've already got some of it. We know we're due about 180,000 on an estimate, but we do that.
Well,
yeah, you can definitely second it. Is there any counter proposal?
Sorry,
There's no counter proposal. So all those in favour of putting aside £100,000 of SIL money? And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh, that's a full house. There we go.
Thank you all very much indeed. That's really very much appreciated. Our trustees
Well, keep
will be delighted.
Keep in touch, Alan, because if we can, if I can help in any way in trying to find land, or any of us can help, let's just get the wheels turning. But very exciting. This is just what we need.
Well, it's very kind of you, Polly. And as I say, we've got quite a thing going very, very quickly, because, as I say, we only received the money officially 25th of March, and we then had a meeting to decide what to do with it. And basically, we don't want to leave it lying in a bank, because otherwise, if we spend 15,000 a year on doing things in Wedmore every year, it would just fritter away. So this way, we would get an income through the premises, and you'd have a nice new surgery.
Oh, worth the wait, Alan.
Let's
I hope so.
Everything crossed that we get you a good bit of land with the car park.
Yeah,
that's all. Once we got the land, we can go.
We'll steam ahead. Well done. Keep up the good work. Thank you very much for coming and debating.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much, all of you, for your help. Okay.
You're welcome.
Good night.
Thank you. Okay.
Night. Item number 12, Green Charter update.
Okay, just I must apologise, sending an email out far too late, which has the Green Charter updated details. I don't want to keep it long. I'm mindful of the time. It's nearly 9 o'clock. But just to be the main thrust of my email was, how do we get the message across to the whole of Wedmore Parish Council that we have adopted this, and we want to, the overarching things are reducing fossil fuels, increasing biodiversity, and adapting to climate change, which is already happening. We see it globally, and it might be happening locally, but we don't sort of see it so well. But just to be positive, if we look at the values, which I'm sure you've all got on your fridge, the 10 values, we're already doing things like buying locally. We've funded a cookbook. There's people doing things like a party kit for children, so they don't have to have single-use plastic. That's something that's happening. So there's people doing stuff without the council being involved. We've got Worthington Woods for biodiversity, which I'm sure will be amazing in 7 or 8 years' time. There was a community woodland set up years ago by the Green Group. So there are lots and lots of positives already happening, but the big ones are, how do we get to net zero by 2030 in Wedmore and nationally? But my question to the council is, do we have a fund or something to be able to advertise, or is it just in the Isle of Wedmore news that we've all agreed to this and we're all going to pull together for more? I mean, how do we advertise it? I don't really know. I mean, if you start just telling people what to do, you'll turn them off. So I don't know if it's an open day somewhere, or because it's not political. Has anybody got any ideas for the next meeting, just that might stimulate ideas as well as get people to be aware of it, whether it's schools or whatever? It's a very middle class area, and they're a bit inured from climate change probably. We do have the highest number of solar panels per village in the whole country, over 10%. And so, anybody got any ideas on how to promote what we've all sort of signed up to? That'd be great. Don't have to tell me now because I left it too late to let you reflect on it.
Well, Jonathan's got his hand up, so let's hear what Jonathan's got to say.
Yeah, I would say that the biggest effect we can have is getting people to leave their vehicles at home and use their feet or their wheels, because 30% of all the carbon emissions in the UK come from vehicles. So if we can put the the environmental benefits into our activities around the cycle path between Blackford and Wedmore, and reducing speed limits of cars and making our roads safer so that people are happy to walk and cycle, making it easy for people, making it easy and making them feel safe, then I think that'll have the biggest impact than anything else we can do in terms of recycling, refuse, lights and so forth, because it's 30% of all CO2 is coming from vehicles.
Yeah, it's very interesting that the reports about the lack of, the massive decrease in traffic has had a big impact on wildlife. Nobody expected birds to start singing the songs they did in the 40s before there were so many cars. But the spin-offs from what you're suggesting, Jonathan, is actually quite profound. Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
Alistair?
Yeah, I was reading today in the paper, they were talking about getting rid of gas boilers, and it's quite frightening when you say to every household it's going to cost £25,000 to convert to a ground heat pump or whatever they're called. I think we need to take steps along the way rather than sort of hammering home those really hard things to hear kind of messages. I think the little steps to start with, just to get people motivated, and hope that the 25,000 figure doesn't prove to be the case. It'll be much cheaper by the time we get there.
Yeah. Well, Wedmore's got ancient housing stock. I mean, you could insulate before the glamour of the high technology. Just basic insulation can do a tremendous amount before you get into Mitsubishi heat pumps and stuff.
Yep.
Okay, so that was it really, and you've all got a copy of it now, and hopefully one day each subcommittee could reflect in their meetings about what values they can add to their committee.
Brilliant, lovely, thank you very much.
Well, just to say, the thing with planning is, from my perspective, is somehow we've got to force new builders and house builders, and I just don't know how we do that unless we join together with some sort of group out there that says that the government's got to put these into place. They can't be building new houses
until any government puts this as a policy that they have to. The builders are they're not going to go play by the rules. So until they force
new legislation is coming out. It's due out next year around that topic.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, I mean,
someone's got to wake up. Great. Item number 13, to consider the annual grant for planting by Wedmore and Bloom.
This is very easy, Chair. We normally give £750 to Wedmore and Bloom to do the planting on the village.
Yep, absolutely. Happy with that, everyone? Oh, Sean, hand up, or is that yes supporting?
No, it's just that today there's a new resident in the village who's volunteered to water all the plants. The rainwater harvester that's a barrel somewhere in the town is completely dry, so they came around to my house today to borrow a 1-ton water bowser to water all those bone dry planters. I was just wondering if we might want to speak to Wedmore about making sure that they have a decent rainwater harvester if the evidence shows that we're going to get longer, drier periods, rather than a truck going around as it did today. Maybe we could approach them about having a decent rainwater harvester in the community because it's bone dry.
I'm not sure Wedmore and Bloom, do they cover out that far? I thought it just to the centre of Wedmore.
No, they came to get the Bowser from my house, and they filled it up at the allotments, and then they went round today to hydrate.
They filled it up at the allotments.
Oh, that's where our water rates have gone.
Well, actually, funnily enough, this particular lady knocked on various houses next to the planters, and every single one of them refused to let their water be used for the planters because they said they're all on water rates. So that was a bit of a surprise to this new resident. For Wedmore. It sounded a bit mean.
I have seen actually what's his name, the ex-vet, Rod Stewart, and his wife with loads of old fabric softener containers in the back of their car, and that's how they go around watering it.
Right.
But that's a bit mean-spirited for someone not to fill up the odd can of water.
Well,
use the water that's coming out of Church Lane.
Yes, exactly. Wouldn't that be brilliant? Church Street. Good idea.
Can we just give Wedmore and Bloom 750 quid?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, 750 quid. It's a
well done, Rod.
Seconded. Lovely. All those in favour?
Right.
Yeah, everyone happy? Great. Let's move on. Item number 14, to make a decision of allowing dogs at Worthington Woods.
There's even more work.
Let's not let this take an hour.
Please.
I've had
no dogs.
This putting pressure on me, but let's open it up and not be too long.
Dogs on leave.
Who wants to start this? All right, I'm going to start it off. I would find it really the fact I get completely where they're coming from, and nothing's worse because there is dog poo bin at the end of the Lurburn, and so many people don't use it, and it's disgusting. Those of us who are responsible dog owners despair because the others give us a bad name. I know that the plan with Worthington Woods is that it will link up eventually when we have a bridge across the Lurburn. It will link up the footpaths. So from the car park, and you can do a lovely loop, and I would never go through there if I can't take my dog in there, and I think there would be a lot of people who would feel the same. So my personal view is that dogs should be kept on leads, and there should be a sign saying dogs kept on leads. That's my tiny bit. Next, Judy.
I take your point, Polly, but as somebody who hasn't got a dog, it's supposed to be producing food in there, isn't it? It's supposed to be a forest project where people are going to pick berries and things. So I'm have to say that I'm not for dogs going in there.
What about the only other thing that slightly contradicts this is that the other community wood, Terry's wood, dogs are allowed in that.
Yeah, but you don't pick berries, do you? There's going to be gooseberries and blackberries and.
Okay, fine, perfectly good. That's I've got Jackie and then Emily.
Surely you pick nothing below knee height anyway.
Roll, isn't it? Yeah.
You'll probably find foxes and badgers shit all over the place anyway.
Yeah, found the foxes.
Yeah, Emily.
Only Dachshunds, I think, should be allowed in there.
Emily.
Could there not be a rule that the dogs have to be on a lead and not to let them go near the crops or something?
Yes, there could be.
You can put a sign up if anybody takes any notice of it. That's the
yeah.
Jonathan, there's hands up anyway. Jonathan and then Sue.
So can we provide nappies for the dogs on arrival?
Good night, Jonathan.
They do it in Japan.
Are we going to have no cats as well?
Yeah, no cats, no foxes, no badgers.
Yeah, no cats, no foxes, no badgers, no hedgehogs, no dormice, anything.
David and then Jackie.
Yeah, as a non-dog owner, I prefer a couple banning people from using a public space. I think dogs on lead seems like a sensible suggestion to me.
Thank you, Jackie. So.
Slightly green charter, and I don't know whether it would work, but actually in Malvern Hills they actually have a street light that is powered by dog poo, and you have to put it into the mechanism. You have to use a brown, you have to use a paper bag, and you put it into the thing at the bottom of the street light. Turn the handle so many times, and that releases methane, and that powers the street light.
That sounds fantastic. You'd have a shit-powered light.
A shit-powered light.
That would be amazing. Sean, and then David Curley.
Yeah, I just think signs will be ignored. I think people that arrive at Wedmore with their dogs out of a car, that might have been a long journey, they're going to walk through that gate and they're going to just let the dogs off the lead, and they're not going to take any notice of the sign, or they might read the sign, but they're not going to follow it through. I think it's a food forest project. And Sue, your point about poos and cats and dogs, things. Yeah, I mean, I think there's a big difference between badger poo and dog poo. Although I don't know the actual constituents of cat poo, but yes, but I mean, many natural historians will actually look for badger poo as a sign. It's an ecological way of surveying, but I think people are just going to ignore it. They're going to sit on the bench. It's a fenced area. They're going to watch their dog run around, collect the dog, and whether they collect the poo or not is another thing. If, as Polly's pointing out, there's lots of dog owners just leave it all along footpaths, they're going to leave it in the woods. And human nature is that it will just there'll be shit everywhere. So, and it'll put people off eating food, and then we'll get into a situation where somebody will get sick and they'll say, who allowed dogs in there when somebody got a disease?
David Curley.
Yeah, I'm in the I think I'm in the against camp. Remember, I think when we discussed this before, it was the focus was on the children, and it will be a place for children to go. It's the, as Sean said, food forest, children to get in there.
Plenty of places.
With respect to what type of poo it is, we can only control what we can control. And if we can control no dogs, so we eliminate that sort of poo, okay, at least we've controlled that. So
okay, so anybody got a proposal?
Well, I propose no dogs.
Okay, anyone seconding that? Oh, we've got 2 seconders. Any counter proposals?
Yeah, I propose that we have a sign that says dogs only on leads.
Okay. And seconded by David Cox. Right, so we'll go with the first vote, which was proposed by Sean or Dave.
Sorry, we take the amendment. We take Sue Worrell's amendment first.
Oh, yeah, we take Sue's first. Okay, those in favour of dogs allowed on lead.
I have to count.
Do we have a seconder for Sue?
Yes, David Cox.
Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. Yeah.
Okay, those in favour of dogs on leads. We've got 4. Okay. Those against.
Against.
Those against. What? No, Sean, you can only use one hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1,
Okay,
2,
that's lost.
7 against. Okay.
Lost. So we go back to the original proposal.
Okay. Sean's proposal. All those in favour?
No, sorry, it's your proposal.
No. Sorry, I thought that was David Curley's proposal.
David Curley, sorry.
David's proposal, not mine.
And Julie Candy.
No dogs.
No dogs.
No dogs proposal.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in favour. Those against? 1, 2, 3, 4. There we are. So no dogs at Worthington Woods. Well done, everyone. Right, item number 50.
Holly, sorry, before we move off Worthington Woods, I did have a message from Vanessa earlier about the fact that they're ready now for the bridge to go in. I'm not sure if that's something that's been agreed or what.
We can't do that tonight, Emily. It's not on the agenda. So.
Yeah, well, she'll have to talk to me separately about that. I'll email and we'll get it on the agenda for next month.
Okay.
Fab, thank you. Item number 16, to agree that the chairman and clerk can sign the annual governance statement.
This is just a formality for the preparation of the accounts before it goes off the auditor. So I just need agreement from everybody that we can sign the governance statement, which I have some circulated.
Okay, yeah, everyone in
Just
favour?
everybody's okay with that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
good. Go ahead, lovely. Item number 16, issues and questions raised by councillors. I'll go around my screen. David Cox.
Just commenting, I sent around a document around priorities. If anyone's got any comments, please let me know. I hope to bring that back to the next suitable council meeting.
Super, thank you. Peter Tinney, anything to raise?
No.
Super. Thank you, Pete. David Curley? No. Isabel? No. Jackie Farley? Judy Candy?
No.
Emily?
Can I just ask the letter that we were sent by Cheryl Morris? Are we responding to that, or are we going to put it on the agenda to discuss it? Or it would be a shame to not discuss
Would you like
it.
to come back, Sue?
Yeah, about that, I had a phone call this week from Fiona Torrance Spence at not Torrance Spence. Fiona, sorry, it's double barreled and it's gone. But anyway, Fiona, who's Chapel Allerton chair, Chapel Allerton Parish Council. And she was very interested to start causing a fuss with Sedgemoor, with their lack of listening to their village statement, because they're not big enough to have a neighbourhood plan, and their village statement is being completely and utterly disregarded, as is our neighbourhood plan. And so I wondered whether I should put her in touch with Cheryl, and they could perhaps you know, get together and start something.
Agree, totally. You know, we already all do our bit. If there's other people who want to get involved about planning issues and things like that, then and set up a separate committee, absolutely go for it.
Okay, I'll do that.
You've spoken. Has anyone? I think we did respond, didn't we? I certainly think I've responded to her, just saying go for it if this is how you feel and you want to set up a separate committee.
It was mentioned at the last planning meeting.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, we have responded, Em. Okay.
Yep.
Alistair, anything?
I was just going to say, after our unanimous vote on the doctor's surgery, can we put something in the Wedmore News to broaden the knowledge of this around our community, but also to explain how we're backing it to the hilt?
Yeah, good plan. But that's where a big chunk of our SIL money is going to go.
Yeah.
Do you want to put something together, Alistair, and I'll send it?
No, Alistair, you should know better.
Nice one, Alistair.
Gets it done, then yeah.
You've got 5 lines.
Brilliant. Nandin, anything? No. Babs? Sue Worrell?
No.
No. Jonathan? Can't hear you anyway.
No, thank you, Polly.
Okay. Sean?
Where will Worthington, which committee will Worthington Woods eventually go into? Would it be facilities or the brook, or?
All that's going to happen there is we're going to cut the grass pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not.
Oh, I see. So it's not necessarily, although it's an asset for the council, it won't be in. So
We're not running it, Sean.
No, I know you're not running it.
No.
I appreciate that, but I mean, if it's
any issues, the Green Group just have to mention them. But our plan is to maintain it by doing the mowing, and that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it won't be on a committee then. Yeah.
No. Okay. Correspondence item number 17.
Nothing there. No.
Okay. 18 committee reports. Cemetery.
Glenys has done the inspection. It's all pretty good.
Excellent. Facilities and allotments.
Julie's been busy.
Yeah, hang on. Yeah, we recently had a meeting and discussed rent rises, which I'm proposing for next year. We also have agreed that we need to have a deposit scheme, which I'm now implementing for new allotment holders. we have 1.5 allotments free at the moment. We've had a big flurry of allotments coming back in, and I have managed to fill nearly all of them. So it's just 1.5 left now. If you know anybody, any budding allotment holders. Apart from that, it's all going quite well up there. David has very kindly offered to look into the borehole option or water storage and come back to me with some ideas. It has, well, some of the allotment owners are talking, you know, about how some people use far too much water and what can I do about it? And I've had to say, well, I can't really do much. We are looking into other means of dealing with things. So that's about it from the allotments.
Right. I haven't forgot your signs, Judy. I've nearly finished them.
Yeah, Sean, very kindly giving us some metal bits to do. I'll put the signage up, the numbering, because they blew away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sean. Finance and general purposes?
No, nothing.
Nothing there, is there? Housing, housing
No.
there's nothing. There's too much of it. Highways, car park and brook?
Nothing new.
Cool. Planning?
Meeting on the 28th.
Next week.
Super. Footpaths and green issues?
Blackford's very much on the agenda tonight, in more ways than one. 6 new paths are being looked at by the Rights of Way in the Blackford area to have new furniture. That's going to be funded by their contractors. So Blackford will be able to walk into Wedmore whenever they finally get covered permission to have these teams in, which is good news. Madwoman's Lane is still an issue. We've had letters from people who are nearly falling into 4-foot holes. The landowners there and Chris East are still looking into ways of actually finally stopping. But there's not many off-roaders there at the moment. I think they're there because the Forestry Commission closed during COVID, closed all the paths they could go around in the Quantock. So it might eventually get solved by Chris East.
That would be good. Reports from representatives on committees. Isle of Wedmore News.
No.
Play areas. Well, we're still doing improvements and lots of exciting things going on in the play areas. I think that's it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Salk.
No.
Wedmore Playing Fields Management.
No, we did have a meeting this week, but other than the mugger, which we've been discussing with Pete earlier on, there wasn't a huge else of interest, right, Babs?
Okay. Village halls. Blackford Village Hall, all okay, Pete?
Yeah, opening up. Yeah, things are looking, quite good for booking. People starting up again.
Groovy. Alistair?
We've got a committee meeting this week, but everything, they're doing a lot of repairs, as far as I know.
Okay.
Dave knows more about bookings than I do.
Okay. Sean?
We had a meeting last night, and one of the things came up. Rodney, can I ask, has the diocese been in contact with you in the last 5 or 6 weeks?
Never, Sean.
Right, because the diocese told David Luke that they communicated with Wedmore Parish Council about trying to get the lease, but if they haven't, we want to write not as a village hall committee, but as Wedmore Parish Council, because we're the leaseholders, and I'll run it past you, Rodney, to say that we're very keen to.
Please call me Rod, and
Rod.
Thank you. And I've had no communication with the diocese.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Twinning.
Nothing.
Brilliant. Item number 19, matters of report and items for the next meeting. Get anything to Rod, please. It's been a long old meeting. Thank you for all attending and for your input. Some really positive things coming. And I wish you all a good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Polly. Thanks,
Thanks,
Rod.
Rodney.
Bye.
Thank you.